The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with urgent voices. Delegates from hundreds of star systems had gathered for an emergency meeting. Something terrible had happened and everyone knew it. Ambassador Jiho from the Zentari Collective sat in his designated seat, his 4 eyes scanning the room nervously. He had served on the council for 30 years, but he had never seen such chaos. Council members were shouting, arguing, and gesturing wildly at the holographic displays floating above them. Order. We need order, the council speaker demanded, slamming his staff against the floor. The sound echoed through the massive hall and slowly the noise died down. Jiho leaned toward his assistant, a young diplomat named Mina. What exactly happened? He whispered. Mina's face was pale. The Krell attacked a human colony, sir. New Tasmania. They destroyed the settlement and they killed civilians. Jiho felt his blood run cold, but not for the reason Mina might have expected. They attacked humans? The Krell attacked humans? Yes, sir. That's why everyone is panicking. The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life. A massive Krell warrior appeared, his armor decorated with bones and battle scars. This was Warlord Dravix, the military commander of the Krell Dominion. His face was twisted into what the Krell considered a smile. Greetings, Council, Dravix growled. I come to inform you of our glorious victory. The human colony of New Tasmania has fallen to Krell might. We have claimed their world as our own. The chamber erupted again. Some delegates shouted in anger. Others simply stared in disbelief. But Jiho noticed something strange. The older members of the council, the ones who had been here for centuries, were not angry. They looked horrified. Some were even shaking their heads slowly as if watching a tragedy unfold. You dare attack a council member species without provocation? The speaker demanded. Dravix laughed, a harsh barking sound. The humans are weak. They have no real military. They spend their time trading and talking. We took their colony in 3 days. Soon we will take more of their worlds. The Krell Dominion will expand, and these soft mammals cannot stop us. An elderly delegate from the Vax species, a being so old that her skin had turned silver with age, stood up slowly. Her voice was quiet but clear. You have made a terrible mistake, Krell. You do not understand what you have done. Dravix sneered at her. I understand perfectly, old one. I understand that humans are prey, and the Krell are predators. This is the natural order. The old Vax shook her head. You know nothing of humans. You know nothing of their history. You have doomed your people, Warlord. Enough of this nonsense. Dravix roared. The Krell demand that the humans surrender all border colonies to us within 1 month, or we will take them by force. This council cannot protect them. The hologram flickered and disappeared. Jiho turned to Mina. Quick, access the restricted archives. Pull up the human files. Everything marked classified. Sir, I don't have clearance for. Use my credentials. Now. While Mina worked frantically on her data pad, Jiho watched the council chamber descend into chaos once more. Delegates were demanding action, calling for military intervention, arguing about protocols. But the elder delegates remained quiet, their faces grim. Finally, Mina's data pad chimed. I have it, sir. The human files. But there's so much classified information here. Pages and pages of warnings and restrictions. Jiho took the pad from her and began scrolling. His eyes grew wider with each line he read. Terms jumped out at him: total war, scorched earth, mutually assured destruction, Geneva Conventions. There were files on human conflicts with names like World War, numbered 1 and 2. There were casualty counts that made his stomachs turn. By the stars, he whispered. The Krell have no idea what they've done. They've attacked a species that nearly destroyed itself multiple times and somehow survived. They've attacked a species that had to create rules to limit their own violence because they were too effective at killing each other. Mina looked confused. I don't understand, sir. Humans are peaceful. Everyone knows that. Jiho looked at his young assistant with sad eyes. Humans aren't peaceful by nature, Mina. They're peaceful by choice. And the Krell just gave them a reason to make a different choice. Jiho returned to his private quarters immediately after the council session ended. His hands were still shaking as he locked the door behind him. Mina followed close behind, carrying her data pad and looking worried. Sir, are you all right? She asked. No, Jiho said honestly. I'm not all right. Sit down, Mina. You need to see this. He activated the large holographic display in his office. The screen filled with the official council archives on humanity. Most of it was public information that anyone could access. Humans had joined the Galactic Council 150 years ago. They were known as friendly traders, skilled diplomats, and curious explorers. Their military was small and defensive. They had never started a war with another species. "This is what everyone knows about humans," Jiho said, pointing at the glowing text. "Now watch what happens when I access the restricted files." He entered his senior ambassador credentials. The screen flickered, and suddenly a bright red warning appeared. "Caution. Species classification Deathworld Apex Predator. Approach with extreme care." Mina gasped. "Deathworld? But Earth is classified as a garden world. It's beautiful. I've seen pictures." "Beautiful and deadly," Jiho muttered. He opened the first restricted file. The document began with a simple statement that made both of them go silent. "Humans are the only known species to achieve sentience on a Class 12 death world and survive to reach space travel." Jiho scrolled down. Images appeared showing Earth's history. There were massive beasts with sharp teeth that humans called dinosaurs. There were ice ages that covered half the planet in frozen wasteland. There were volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, and diseases that killed millions. "Their planet tried to kill them for millions of years," Jiho said quietly. "And they survived. They adapted. They became the top predator on a world full of predators." But that was not the worst part. The next section detailed human history after they became civilized. Mina read aloud, her voice growing softer with each word. "Humans have been in a state of organized warfare for approximately 95% of their recorded history. They have developed over 300 distinct methods of organized combat. They have created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet multiple times over." Jiho opened another file. This one was titled Human Conflicts, Major Wars. The list was staggering. Wars that lasted 100 years. Wars that killed tens of millions. Wars fought with swords, with guns, with bombs, with chemicals, with diseases. "Look at this one," Jiho said, pointing to an entry. "World War II. Estimated deaths, 70 to 85 million humans. Duration, 6 years. They killed more than 80 million of their own species in just 6 years." Mina's face had turned pale blue, the color her species showed when terrified. That's more than the entire population of some council species." "Keep reading," Jiho said grimly. The files detailed human weapons development. They had created fire, then arrows, then guns, then explosives, then chemical weapons, then biological weapons, then nuclear weapons. Each advancement made killing more efficient, more widespread, more terrible. Then Jiho found the file that chilled him most. It was called The Geneva Conventions and Laws of War. "What is this?" Mina asked. Jiho read the description carefully. "These are rules humans created for how to fight wars. Rules about treating prisoners. Rules about not harming civilians. Rules about which weapons are too cruel to use." "That sounds reasonable," Mina said hopefully. "You don't understand," Jiho said, turning to face her. "They didn't create these rules because other species forced them to. They created these rules for themselves. They had to create laws limiting what they could do to each other in war because without these rules, they were too effective at killing. They scared themselves." Mina? He pulled up another document. This one showed images of atomic bombs exploding over human cities. Entire cities vanished in seconds, replaced by mushroom clouds of fire and death. "They used these weapons on themselves," Jiho said. "And then they agreed never to use them again because they realized they could end their own species. What kind of species develops the ability to destroy their own world and then chooses not to use it?" Mina was quiet for a long moment. "A species with incredible self-control," she finally said. "Or a species that learned the hard way what happens when they lose control," Jiho corrected. "The humans stopped fighting each other and came to the stars looking for peace. They wanted to be better than their history. And now the Krell have attacked them," Mina whispered. Jiho nodded slowly. "The Krell think humans are weak because they choose peace. But choosing peace when you are capable of terrible violence is not weakness. It is strength. And now the Krell have forced them to make a different choice." He pulled up one final document. It was marked with the highest security clearance. The title made his blood run cold. Human Total War Doctrine. What happens when they stop holding back? Outside the window, stars twinkled peacefully in the dark void of space. But Jiho knew that peace was about to end. Somewhere out there, humanity was waking up. And the galaxy was about to remember why you should never corner a predator. 3 days after the attack on New Tasmania, the Galactic Council convened again. This time the chamber was packed with observers. News of the Krell attack had spread across hundreds of worlds. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Jiho sat in his seat, watching the entrance carefully. He had not slept well since reading the human files. His dreams were filled with images of mushroom clouds and endless wars. The massive doors opened and the human delegation entered. At the front walked Ambassador Yuna Kim, the chief human representative to the council. Jiho had known Yuna for 20 years. She was always smiling, always polite, always trying to find peaceful solutions to problems. But today Yuna was not smiling. She walked to the center of the chamber with slow, measured steps. Her face showed no emotion. Her eyes were cold and hard. Behind her walked 3 human military officers in dark uniforms. Jiho noticed that every elder delegate in the room had gone completely silent, watching the humans with wary eyes. The council recognizes Ambassador Yuna Kim of the Human Systems Alliance, the speaker announced. Yuna stood at the podium and placed a data chip into the reader. Immediately, holographic images filled the air above the chamber. They showed burning buildings on New Tasmania, bodies in the streets, Krell soldiers executing civilians, children crying. The chamber fell into shocked silence. 72 hours ago, Yuna began, her voice calm and clear, the Krell Dominion attacked the peaceful colony of New Tasmania without warning or provocation. They killed 4,317 civilians. Men, women, and children. They broadcast these executions across our communication networks as a show of strength. She paused, letting the images speak for themselves. Jiho saw some delegates looking away from the horrific scenes. The Human Systems Alliance has reviewed all diplomatic options, Yuna continued. We have examined every peaceful path forward. We have found none that the Krell will accept. Warlord Dravix's hologram appeared in his designated space. He was laughing. Humans talk and talk, but they do nothing. You are weak. Surrender your colonies or we will take them all. Yuna turned to look directly at Dravix's image. Her expression did not change. Therefore, as of this moment, the Human Systems Alliance has invoked Article 7 of our constitutional charter. Total defense authorization has been approved by unanimous vote of our government. Jiho felt his heart skip a beat. He knew what those words meant. He had read about Article 7 in the restricted files. The elder delegates began whispering urgently among themselves. Some looked frightened. Others looked sad, as if watching something terrible and inevitable unfold. What does this mean? Dravix demanded. More human words meaning nothing? Yuna's voice remained perfectly calm, but her words were ice. It means the Krell Dominion has 72 hours from this moment to withdraw all military forces from New Tasmania, release all prisoners unharmed, and surrender the individuals directly responsible for war crimes to an independent tribunal. And if we refuse? Dravix sneered. Then the Human Systems Alliance will respond with proportional military force to eliminate the threat to our citizens and ensure such an attack never happens again. Dravix burst into laughter. Your small patrol ships against the might of the Krell Armada? You will be crushed like insects. Yuna did not react to his mockery. She simply continued in that same cold, measured tone. These terms are non-negotiable. You have 72 hours. We will not offer them again. I refuse your pathetic demands. Dravix roared. The Krell fear nothing, especially not weak mammals who... Yuna reached over and disconnected his transmission. The hologram vanished mid-sentence. The chamber gasped at the insult. No one simply cut off another delegate like that. Yuna gathered her materials calmly. She turned to address the council one final time. The Human Systems Alliance wishes to inform this council that we will conduct our military operations in accordance with all applicable laws of war. We will make every effort to minimize civilian casualties. We will offer humanitarian assistance to any Krell civilians who require it. She paused at the doorway and looked back. For just a moment, Jiho saw something in her eyes. Not anger. Not hatred. Something worse. Disappointment. Sadness. The look of someone who had hoped never to see this day. We came to the stars to be better than our history, Yuna said quietly. We tried. We really tried. But we will protect our people. Always. Then she was gone, her officers following behind her. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded the council intervene. Others called for sanctions against the Krell. But Jiho noticed that none of the elder delegates were shouting. They sat in their seats, silent and still, watching the door where the humans had exited. The old Vax delegate turned to look at Jiho. Their eyes met and she shook her head slowly. The countdown has begun, she said softly. 72 hours until the Krell learn what humanity has been hiding from the galaxy. Should we warn them? Jiho asked. Should we tell the Krell what humans are truly capable of? The old Vax sighed. Would they listen? Pride and arrogance have sealed their fate. The Krell wanted to see human strength. Now they will. May the stars have mercy on them because humanity will show them none. Jiho looked down at his data pad, where the human military files still glowed. Somewhere in deep space, humanity was preparing for war. And the galaxy was about to witness something it had not seen in 150 years. Humanity unleashed. The 72-hour deadline passed in tense silence. The Krell had not withdrawn. They had not released any prisoners. Instead, Warlord Dravix had sent one final message to the Council: let the humans come. We will destroy them. Jiho sat in the Council's observation center with dozens of other delegates. Large screens showed live feeds from various points in Krell space. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when humanity's deadline expired. Sensors are detecting movement, a technician announced. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace at the edge of Krell territory. The screens flickered and showed what appeared at first to be a small human fleet. Maybe 20 ships. The delegates relaxed slightly. 20 ships would not be enough to challenge the Krell armada. Then more ships appeared. And more. And more. By the ancients, Mina whispered beside Jiho. How many ships do they have? The count kept rising. 50 ships. 100. 200. These were not the small patrol vessels the galaxy knew. These were massive warships, each one bristling with weapons. Their hulls were dark and angular, designed for one purpose only. Where did they come from? A delegate demanded. Humans don't have a fleet like this. The old Vax delegate spoke from her seat in the corner. They always had them. Hidden in orbital graveyards. Decommissioned, they said. Relics from old conflicts, they claimed. But never destroyed. Humans never destroy their weapons. They keep them. Just in case. The human fleet moved into Krell space with precise coordination. But they did not head for the Krell homeworld or military bases. Instead, they split into dozens of smaller groups. What are they doing? Jiho wondered aloud. The answer came quickly and brutally. The human ships began destroying Krell infrastructure throughout their entire territory. Communication satellites vanished in silent explosions. Supply depots were reduced to debris. Shipyards that built Krell warships were torn apart by precise missile strikes. They're cutting them off, Mina said in awe. They're isolating every Krell world from each other. Within 6 hours, the Krell Dominion's interstellar network was gone. Their worlds could not communicate with each other. Their ships could not receive orders or supplies. Each planet was alone. The Krell military tried to respond. Their warships gathered to attack the human fleet. The battle that followed was short and decisive. Human ships moved with coordinated precision that spoke of centuries of tactical experience. Their weapons were devastatingly effective. Within minutes, half the Krell fleet was disabled or destroyed. But then something strange happened. The human ships stopped firing. A transmission went out across all Krell frequencies. Ambassador Yuna's face appeared on every screen in Krell space. Attention all Krell civilians, she said in a calm, clear voice. The Human Systems Alliance is not at war with the Krell people. We are at war with your military leadership who ordered the murder of our civilians. In exactly 6 hours, human forces will strike military targets in the following locations. A list of coordinates appeared on the screen. Precise locations of military bases, command centers, and weapons facilities. We strongly urge all civilian personnel to evacuate these areas immediately, Yuna continued. We do not wish to harm non-combatants. You have 6 hours. The transmission ended. The Council Observation Center erupted in confusion. They're telling the enemy where they will attack? A delegate shouted. That's insane. The Krell will use civilians as shields. And that was exactly what the Krell military tried to do. Warlord Dravix ordered civilians to gather at military bases, thinking the humans would not attack. He was wrong. 6 hours later, human ground forces landed near the military targets. Small teams of human soldiers moved through Krell cities with shocking efficiency. They went door to door, evacuating civilians whether they wanted to leave or not. Some Krell fought back, but the human soldiers used non-lethal weapons whenever possible. We're here to protect you, the humans kept saying. Please leave the area. We don't want to hurt you. Once the civilians were clear, the humans destroyed the military targets completely. Precisely. Efficiently. Not a single civilian casualty. But every military installation was reduced to rubble. The Krell military tried to use their own people as shields, but humanity simply removed the shields first, then destroyed the targets anyway. Jiho watched in stunned silence as this pattern repeated across every Krell world. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were demonstrating complete control. They were showing the Krell and the entire galaxy that they could destroy an enemy while following strict rules of engagement. This is what they call proportional response? Mina asked quietly. No, the old Vax said from behind them. This is what they call mercy. A proportional response from humanity would have ended the Krell species in the first hour. What we are watching is humans at war while still following their self-imposed rules. Imagine what they could do if they broke those rules. On the screens, human ships continued their systematic destruction of Krell military capability. Not one civilian target was hit. Not one city was bombed. But the Krell Dominion as a military power was being methodically erased from existence. A message came through from Human Command. It was broadcast to the entire galaxy. The Human Systems Alliance operates under strict rules of warfare. We do not target civilians. We do not torture prisoners. We do not use weapons of mass destruction against population centers. We fight with honor even when our enemies do not. This is who we are. This is who we choose to be. Jiho felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity was showing restraint. They were being merciful. They were following their rules. And they were still winning effortlessly. What happens when someone fights humans who are not being merciful? He asked the old Vax. She looked at him with ancient, sad eyes. No one knows. Because no species has ever survived that encounter to tell about it. 6 weeks after the deadline expired, the war was over. The Krell Military Command sent an unconditional surrender to the Human Systems Alliance. Warlord Dravix and his senior officers were handed over to stand trial for war crimes. The Krell Dominion, which had threatened to conquer human space, no longer existed as a military power. Jiho stood in the council chamber once again, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Every seat was filled. Delegates from across the galaxy had come to witness what humanity would do next. The common belief was that humans would occupy Krell worlds, take their resources, maybe enslave the population. That was what conquerors did. That was the way of the galaxy. But humanity did something that shocked everyone. Ambassador Yuna returned to the council floor, and this time she was smiling again. That warm, genuine smile that Jiho remembered from before the war. The Human Systems Alliance wishes to announce the Krell Reconstruction Initiative, she said. Effective immediately, we will be sending engineers, medical personnel and aid workers to all Krell worlds to help rebuild the infrastructure damaged during the conflict. The chamber fell silent. Furthermore, Yuna continued, we are offering technical assistance to help the Krell people establish a new democratic government, one that represents all Krell citizens, not just the military elite. We will share technology, educational resources, and economic support to help them recover. A delegate from the Theron Empire stood up, confused. You are helping them? After they attacked you? After they killed your people? Yuna's smile faded slightly, but her voice remained gentle. Yes. Because punishing the Krell people for the crimes of their leaders would make us no better than those leaders. The civilians of the Krell worlds did not choose this war. They were victims of their own government's aggression. But what do you demand in return? Another delegate asked. What tribute? What territory? We demand nothing, Yuna said simply. We ask only that the new Krell government adopt the Galactic Accords on Warfare and agree to never again attack civilian populations. We ask that they join us in choosing peace over violence. Jiho watched as human ships began arriving at Krell worlds. But instead of occupation forces, they brought construction equipment. Instead of soldiers, they brought doctors and teachers. Human engineers worked alongside Krell workers to rebuild the destroyed infrastructure. 1 month later, Jiho was invited to observe the reconstruction efforts on the Krell homeworld. What he saw there amazed him. Human and Krell children played together in newly built parks. Human doctors treated Krell patients in hospitals. Human teachers helped Krell students learn about democracy and peaceful conflict resolution. He met a former Krell soldier named Vorik who had fought against the humans. Vorik now worked as a translator for the reconstruction teams. Why do you help us? Vorik asked Jiho one evening. Your people should hate us. I am not human, Jiho corrected gently. But I think I understand them now. They help you because that is who they choose to be. We killed their people, Vorik said, his voice heavy with shame. We murdered civilians. We laughed about it. And they responded by defeating us in 6 weeks, then offering to rebuild our world. I do not understand. They could have destroyed you, Jiho said. They had the power. They had the weapons. They had every right after what your leaders did. But they chose mercy instead. That choice is what makes them strong, not their weapons. 3 months after the war ended, the new Krell Democratic Assembly held its first meeting. They voted unanimously to adopt the Geneva Conventions and join the Galactic Accords. They also voted to become humanity's strongest allies in the Council. When asked why, a Krell representative named Sarah gave a simple answer that spread across the galaxy: humanity defeated us in 6 weeks. They could have erased us from existence. Instead, they taught us there was a better way. They showed us that strength is not about how much you can destroy, but about what you choose to build. Only the truly powerful can show such mercy. The Galactic Council held a special session to discuss the Krell conflict and its aftermath. The result was a complete reclassification of humanity in the official records. Jiho read the new designation aloud to Mina. Species, human. Classification, Death World Apex Predator. Temperament, peaceful by choice. Warning level, critical. Below that, a new notation had been added, one that would remain in the files forever. Humanity possesses the capacity for total warfare and species-level destruction. They have demonstrated this capacity throughout their history, primarily against themselves. However, they have also demonstrated an extraordinary ability to choose restraint over violence, mercy over vengeance, and construction over destruction. Do not mistake their preference for peace as an inability to wage war. They are the only known species to have stared into the abyss of their own destructive potential and consciously chosen to step back. If forced to defend themselves, they will win with overwhelming efficiency. If offered the opportunity to help, they will rebuild with equal dedication. They are capable of terrible violence but choose incredible kindness. Approach with respect. Never with aggression. Ambassador Yuna gave one final speech to the Council, and her words became legendary across hundreds of worlds. "We know what we are capable of," she said quietly. "We know the monsters we can become. Our history is written in blood and ash. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times before we reached the stars. We came to space hoping to leave that darkness behind. Hoping to be better than our worst instincts." She paused, looking around at the hundreds of delegates listening. "The Krell attacked us. They killed our people. They forced us to become soldiers again. And yes, we responded with overwhelming force. But we refused to become the monsters we once were. We fought with honor. We protected civilians. We followed our rules even when our enemy did not. And when we won, we chose to heal rather than harm. This is who we are," Yuna continued. "Not because it is easy, but because it is right. We will always defend ourselves. We will always protect our people. But we will also always offer the hand of friendship after the fighting ends. Because that is the choice that makes us human." The Council gave her a standing ovation, something that had never happened before in its 1,000-year history. Jiho visited the Krell homeworld one final time before returning to his duties. He found Vorik teaching Krell children about human history, showing them images of Earth and its struggles. "What are you teaching them?" Jiho asked. Vorik smiled, something Krell rarely did. "I am teaching them about the species that defeated us, then became our greatest teachers. I am showing them that true strength is not measured in weapons or conquest, but in the courage to choose peace when you have the power to choose war." He pointed to an image of Earth, that beautiful blue and green world that had birthed such a remarkable species. "And I am teaching them to never, ever underestimate someone just because they are kind.